Motherfucker, you don't have a focus problem. You have a discipline problem. You have a habits problem. You have an environment that rewards distraction and punishes silence. And until you admit that, you'll keep wondering why your days vanish into a blur of noise while your goals rot in the background like forgotten fruit. Let's call it out right now. You say you want to be locked in, dialed, ruthlessly productive. But the truth is, 5 habits are quietly strangling every ounce of your potential. They don't scream. They whisper. They don't knock you out. They bleed you dry. You don't lose focus randomly. You give it away. You trade it for comfort. Motherfucker. You auction it off to your worst habits before the day even begins. And the first enemy is the morning you think is harmless. You sabotage yourself before sunrise. You don't wake up and command the day. You drift into it, eyes half shut, thumb already scrolling, mind already reacting. The second your eyes open, the battle begins. But you're not a warrior. You're a hostage, and your captor is your routine, or rather the lack of one. Because if you start the day with no rules, no fricker, no structure, then you've already lost. You're not lazy. You're not miswired. Every notification, every headline, every comment pulls you deeper into someone else's agenda while your own goals sit untouched. You tell yourself it's harmless. Just a minute here. A quick check there. But that dopamine you hit first thing in the morning isn't a warm-up. It's a chain. It teaches your brain to expect reward without effort. It hardwires you to chase stimulation, not progress. And what happens when you chase stimulation? You become dependent on it. You lose the ability to tolerate boredom. You lose the edge that real work demands. Deep focus requires mental stillness, and mentals can't exist in a brain trained to refresh every 10 seconds. So you drift through the day scattered. You can't lock in. You can't finish anything because your brain isn't in creation mode. It's in consumption mode. You're not producing thoughts. You're absorbing noise. And the worst part is, you think this is normal. You think it's just how modern life is, but it's how defeat feels when it wears the costume of convenience. The modern world is designed to steal your attention. Algorithms don't care about your dreams. They're not your ally. Motherfucker, they're not your coach. They're engineered to keep you scrolling, to keep you sedated, to keep you away from anything that requires depth. So when you start your morning on your phone, you're not checking in. You're checking out. You're signing the contract that says, today I'll let someone else steer my mind. That's not harmless. That's not harmless at all. That's surrender. And surrender in the first hour guarantees chaos in the rest. You want clarity. You want power. You want momentum. Then you have to protect the beginning of your day like it's sacred. You have to reclaim that first hour and make it yours. Not just with motivation, but with discipline. Brutal, boring, consistent discipline. The kind that doesn't feel exciting, but delivers results so sharp they feel unreal. Because when you own the morning, you set the tone. You build intention. You create force, and force compounds. One focused morning turns into a focused afternoon week, a focused life. But that only happens when you get sick of being distracted. When you finally get angry at the way you waste your own time. Motherfucker. When you stop pretending that a little scrolling won't, it always hurts because it leaks energy. It weakens your ability to think clearly. It fragments your mental bandwidth so badly that even when you try to focus, motherfucker, your brain fights back. It resists the silence. It rebels against the effort. And suddenly the thing you know you need to do, whether it's write, train, build, execute, feels impossible. Not because it is, motherfucker, but because you've spent so long avoiding it that your tolerance for it has evaporated. That's trap. That's the loop. You chase what's easy, you numb out, then you beat yourself up for not being locked in. And every time you repeat that cycle, your self-trust erodes. You stop believing in your own word. You become the kind of person who plans but doesn't act, who dreams but doesn't move, who talks doesn't deliver. And that gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be, that gap grows. It grows into guilt, into self-doubt, into the quiet shame that you carry through every task, every conversation, every fake smile. But it doesn't have to stay that way. You can choose differently. You can decide that the morning isn't just another stretch of time. It's a weapon. A forge, a place where discipline is built before the world even wakes up. And the beauty of that decision is that it doesn't require talent or luck or genius. It requires ownership of your behavior, your choices, your environment. You don't rise by accident. You rise by design, by cutting the distractions, by choosing clarity over chaos, by understanding that if you don't control the first hour, the next 23 will control you. So let's talk about that first hour. What do you actually do with it? You strip it down to essentials. You build friction between you and your weaknesses. You leave the phone outside the room. You put pen to paper. You map out your mission. You breathe. You move your body. You eat with intention. You don't need a 10-step routine. You need a signal, a ritual. Something that tells your brain we're not wasting time today. We're here to build. We're here to win. You keep it simple because complexity is a trap. It becomes an excuse, motherfucker. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to dominate your lane. And domination starts in silence, not noise, not tweets, not headlines. Silence. That's where you meet yourself. That's where you hear your thoughts clearly. That's where the resistance lies and where you learn to punch through it. If you can sit in silence and stay focused, you become dangerous because most people can't. Most people need to be entertained every 10 seconds or they panic. But if you train yourself to stay locked in, to sit with boredom, to breathe through it, and you build the kind of mental callus that nothing can shake. And once you have that, once you own that hour and train that focus, you start to see the cracks in everything else. You notice how much of your day is wasted on things that don't move you forward. You notice how conversations drain you, how emails distract you, how environments clutter your thinking. You get sharper, hungrier. You stop settling for business and start demanding results. You don't tolerate nonsense. You don't apologize for being unavailable because now you know the cost. You felt the power of real focus and you're not willing to give it up. But none of that happens by accident. It happens when you get radical, when you say no more. No more passive mornings. No more digital leashes. No more surrendering my momentum before the sun even rises. You make that promise and you back it up every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because the moment you choose discomfort over distraction is the moment you become different. Not better, luckier, just more dangerous, more disciplined, more unstoppable. So understand this, your mornings shape your mind. And your mind shapes your results. If you can win the first 60 minutes, you can win the day. But you have to fight for it. You have to train it. You have to treat it like the most important appointment of your life. Because it is. It's the appointment where you meet your future self, where you shake his hand or walk away in shame. And every time you choose clarity over comfort, silence over scrolling, structure over reaction, you get closer to the version of you that doesn't make excuses, that doesn't get distracted, that doesn't lose focus when things get tough. That version of you already exists, but he's hiding behind the habits you refuse to break. He's waiting in that morning space you keep filling with garbage. And he's getting tired of waiting. So tomorrow when you wake up, don't reach for your phone. Don't open the floodgates. Just sit, breathe. Listen. And remember, the world can wait. Your focus cannot. Decisions sharpen attention. One priority eliminates indecision. When every action has a target, noise fades. Distractions lose their grip when purpose enters the room. But purpose isn't found. It's built through singular pursuit. Tasks tackled in fragments lead nowhere. Hopping between aims breeds mediocrity. Sustained excellence demands everything aimed in one direction. Half-hearted efforts scatter impact. Attempting 5 objectives simultaneously dilutes momentum. Chasing multiple lanes stunts growth. There's only one road, and you build it with undivided energy. Thinking you're accomplishing more by juggling several objectives is attractive. It feels productive. It looks impressive. But beneath the surface, it's slow erosion. Focus diluted across various goals creates shallow output. Progress shrinks. Depth disappears. Completion drifts further away. The world applauds activity, yet outcomes come from deep engagement, not sporadic involvement. If precision drive your engine, speed follows. Quality scales. Clarity intensifies. Fixation on one outcome brings the storm. Resistance shows up stronger. Interruption gets louder. But this is the test. Can you drown the buzz? Can you keep pushing through monotony while others collapse under boredom? Most tap out not because they're incapable, but because they crave variety. They run from the silence of consistency. But repetition isn't dull. It's dangerous. It builds muscle memory. It programs dominance. Every round through the same pattern etches mastery into your system. Intensity without consistency is wasted potential. A strong burst without sustained direction leads nowhere. Longevity paired with unwavering intention builds empires. True execution is rhythm. Controlled chaos funneled into motion. Not scattered, not sporadic. Streamlined. When everything you do builds toward one outcome, distractions dissolve. Notifications become irrelevant. Useless conversations dry up. Time wasting shrinks. Suddenly, it's not about doing more. It's about eliminating the unnecessary. Cart up, motherfucker, sharpening the blade. Most avoid this discipline. They'd rather appear busy than be dangerous. Business gives them an excuse, a mask, a way to hide from what actually matters. But nothing great gets created through noise. Our greatness comes from retreating into solitude, slicing through every layer of resistance with relentless rhythm. One action. Full energy, no detours. That's how precision outpaces chose. This kind of discipline doesn't feel good at first. It feels unnatural. You'll itch to switch. You'll want to bounce from task to task, telling yourself you're making progress. But the scoreboard doesn't lie. Finished projects matter more than started ones. Execution wins over effort. That's what separates condors from pretenders, the ability to stay locked on one mission until it's done. No matter how tedious, no matter how long. Everyone wants results. Few can stomach the discomfort required to achieve them. Chasing stimulation kills your edge. Discipline isn't sexy, doesn't come with applause. It's quiet, repetitive, often invisible. But every moment you stay locked in while others drift, you win, motherfucker. One block of uninterrupted effort outperforms of multitask chows. Every distraction resisted builds resilience. Every time you ignore the temptation to shift gears, you strengthen the foundation beneath your goals. Efficiency isn't about speed. It's about intensity per second. If your energy spreads across too many targets, nothing breaks through. Like punching water. There's movement, but no damage. But when you narrow your focus, that's when you hit hard. That's when you break barriers. Impact requires narrowed beams, not scattered sparks. Think of every major breakthrough across history. It didn't come from bouncing between trends. It came from obsession, motherfucker. People locking themselves in labs, gyms, studios, refusing to come up for air until their vision took shape. They weren't worried about catching up. They were too deep in creation, too lost in the process to chase distractions. Their environments didn't define them. Their intention overpowered it. Crafting this mindset takes practice. It starts by identifying what truly matters, not what feels urgent, not what people expect, what burns inside. Then everything else becomes noise. You don't need to manage distractions. You need to eliminate them. You don't tame chaos. You replace it with structure. That structure becomes your fortress, your breathing room, your freedom, motherfucker. And that freedom isn't found through escape. It's earned by locking into the same task long after excitement dies. Because that's where transformation hides. In the boredom, in the repetition, in the grind. The world praises breakthroughs, but ignores the hours behind them, the early mornings, the sacrificed weekends, the routines so strict they feel like prison, but create precision no competitor can match. There's no secret formula. There's no app to save you, only the decision to show up and stay present, to ignore the pressure to pivot, to stop spinning in circles and start marching forward. Linearity over loops, intensity over frequency. That's the math that builds killers. Mental endurance, like physical endurance, expands through friction. The longer you resist switching tasks, the more attention compounds. It builds heat. The heat becomes fire. That fire drives everything, but the spark dies every time you let yourself pivot out of discomfort. So when boredom hits, double down. When distractions feel louder, close the door tighter. When it gets hard to continue, press harder. That's when the shift happens. Those who outlast the noise become forces. Their output becomes so consistent, so accurate, it shocks everyone watching. But by then, it's too late. The compound effect already won. The foundation is too strong. The system too efficient. The motherfucker too violent to slow. While others are still debating priorities, the precision-driven machine already executed 10 levels ahead. Don't fall for the myth that multitasking is impressive. It's amateur. It's what people do when they're afraid of diving. Focused obsession may feel extreme, but so is your ambition. So is your standard. So is the life you want. That version of yourself won't be built through casual effort. It demands single-minded force. Demands systems so tight they suffocate down. Protocols that force progress even on days when motivation dies. You need fewer options, more structure, tighter routines, harder yeses, immediate and above all, one goal that dominates every waking moment, not five. One, until it's done, then another, but never more than one at a time. Because power isn't in motion, it's in aim, and you'll never hit targets you don't fix it on. This is where separation happens, not in gyms, not in meetings, in minds. Focused ones slaughter distracted ones every time. And while the world drowns in messages, pings, you'll be building something unstoppable. Not because you had more hours, but because your hours were dialed in. Because you showed up locked in while others scrolled, wandered, motherfucker. That's how the gap widens. That's how legacies are forged. Through quiet, calculated discipline. Through rituals repeated with surgical precision. Through choices so simple they look easy, but executed so ruthlessly. Muntucker, they're untouchable. Precision over stimulation, execution over enthusiasm, single task obsession over scattered hustle. That's how the elite get built. You know where this is going. You'll show up, mother, isn't whether it works. The question is whether you'll choose it, whether you'll stop pretending chaos is noble, whether you'll stop glorifying business and start demanding effectiveness. Motherfucker, whether you'll stop dipping your toe and finally drown in the task until it's done. Because locked in energy doesn't whisper, it dominates. And once you harness it, there's no competition left, only targets waiting to be crushed. The ones who finish are ones with the most talent. They're the ones who refuse to negotiate with laziness. Every time that internal voice whispers, skip it just this once. They answer with repetition, ritual, relentless pace, motherfucker. They don't wait for optimal moments. They don't wait to feel like showing up. Their system doesn't bend to moods. Discipline overrides emotion. That's why results materialize, not through hype, but through habit. Patterns become chains or weapons. It depends on which you reinforce. Your physical reality mirrors behavioral cycles. The most destructive routines aren't catastrophic. They're visible, harmless looking at first. But over time, they corrode momentum, bury initiative, and breed stagnation. And checked cycles become anchors. And visceral fat, that stubborn, persistent layer doesn't accumulate overnight. It's a reflection of daily compromise. Small slips repeated regularly lead to breakdowns that feel unexplainable. They aren't. They're earned through years of ignoring the body's signals. Comfort disguises damage. That layer around your organs. It didn't sneak up. It showed up every time fast food replaced whole meals. Every skipped walk. Every night been justified by stress. All compounded. Fat isn't just a number. It's evidence. It's proof of friction never faced. It's what remains when effort fades. And if that offends you, good, it should. Because truth isn't supposed to soothe. It's supposed to pierce, to wake you, to push you past the lies you've rehearsed about metabolism, genetics, time. The mirror doesn't lie. The habits do. Lack of movement, irregular meals, erratic sleep, all amplify inflammation. And that inflammation becomes resistance. Resistance to insulin, resistance to change, resistance to energy. It compounds, slowing your drive, distorting your clarity, reducing output across the board. The worst part, you feel it, normalize it. Sluggish mornings become standard. Afternoon crashes become expected. Energy dips become permanent. That's not ucker aging. It's accumulation. And only subtraction fixes it. Subtraction of poor behavior. Subtraction of rationalization. Subtraction of softness. Softness isn't about appearance. It's about standards. When shortcuts dominate your routine, when corners get cut without hesitation, when effort feels negotiable, you've gone soft, and softness breeds more softness. It spreads. It infects training. It distorts decision-making. You become reactive, not proactive, and nothing sustainable gets built in that state. Reversing it isn't about extreme overhaul. It's about violent consistency. Correct small errors daily, stack deliberate wins. Repeat until resistance turns into flow. Sleep hygiene often gets dismissed, but dictates hormone stability. Ghrelin, leptin, cortisol, they don't care how hard you train if your recovery protocol's trash. Poor rest leads to bad cravings. Bad cravings lead to impulsive meals. Impulsive meals elevate fat storage. Cycle continues. Break it not with caffeine or supplements, but structure. Regular shut-eye, darkness, stillness, detachment from stimulation. Treat rest like a weapon. Because it is. Deep repair happens in silence. Most never feel it because they chase numbing, not restoration. Hydration, another underestimated anchor. Cells require water to function efficiently. Without it, detox slows, metabolism drags, and hunger gets confused. Joints ache. And what's your answer? Coffee. Sugary drinks. That's sedation, not hydration. It masks dysfunction. Fix the base. Pure intake, regular intervals. Not sexy, but necessary. You want your system firing like a machine. Stop treating the basics like suggestions. Meal timing also plays a massive role. It's not just what enters, it's when. Random feeding schedules spike insulin, delay digestion, and confuse hunger cues. Structured intake regulates rhythm. Morning protein. Balance midday energy. Controlled evening slowdown. Skip late night indulgence and watch your clarity return. Watch your waist shrink. Watch discipline bleed into other areas. Momentum in one corner floods the whole map. And yes, movement, but not the kind plastered on social feeds. Not flashy circuits or chaotic reps for views. I'm talking about controlled resistance, mother aggression, progression, and relentless effort inside sessions. Stimulus over spectacle. Intentional effort over entertaining distractions. Training is communication. You tell your body what it needs to become. If the message is lazy, the result reflects that, but when the language is intensity, the transformation answers accordingly. No magic, just brutal feedback loops. Environment impacts more than people admit. Your fridge, your pantry, your lighting, your workspace. They speak. They reinforce habits. If everything around you screams easy, don't expect to light. Set traps for the weaker version of yourself. Remove temptation. Prepare ahead. Design systems that make excellence automatic and deviation inconvenient. Willpower fades. Systems endure, especially when hunger hits or stress spikes. That's when defaults take over. Make sure yours don't destroy your progress. Stress. Let's talk about that trap. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which promotes visceral fat retention. Stress isn't always obvious. It hides in rushed routines, unresolved tension, toxic relationships, financial chaos. You can't eliminate all stress, but you can regulate your response. Deep breath work, deliberate stillness, physical expression through sweat, journaling, non-negotiable solitude. Doesn't require hours, just present. Make space or stress takes it. Now let's call out a major enemy, passivity. The idea that your condition is fixed, that your body has decided its shape, that you're stuck lies, crafted by laziness, accepted by those too afraid to take full ownership. Your biology responds to end period. Change the input and you rewrite the output. That process isn't fast, but it's absolute. Anyone telling you otherwise profits off your confusion. Clarity is free. It just hurts to hear. Visceral fat doesn't just slow you down physically. It clouds judgment, affects self-perception, dulls emotional regulation, makes clothing uncomfortable, breathing heavier, sleep where it doesn't just weigh on the body. It chokes the mind. And the solution isn't 10 hacks. It's one commitment to stop excusing, start owning, to stop dancing around the fire and start walking through it. That burn, that's the change beginning. People say they want transformation, but most want it under one condition. It must not hurt. It must not inconvenience their current comforts. It must not interrupt pleasures. Real change doesn't ask permission. It barges in, kicks down old doors, shatters fragile identity, motherfucker, and builds new structure through pressure. If you're not ready to feel uncomfortable, you're not ready to change. And that's the raw truth. Everything holding you back is self-built, self-fed. But that also means everything had to be self-forged.
New patterns.
New results. No gatekeepers. No waiting. No magic plan arriving in your inbox.
Just now.
Right now. The exact moment everything pivots. If you decide it's over, no more drifting. No more fog. No more bloatal or physical. Precision is possible. Not some, not later. Now, that change begins with ruthless honesty, auditing intake, scheduling movement, guarding recovery, eliminating low-value food, canceling comfort entertainment, replacing idle evenings with prep, swapping excuses for outcomes, not motivational speeches, but actionable pressure. Constant reminders that the current state doesn't define you unless you protect it. Choose against it, and suddenly progress becomes predictable. You'll feel resistance. You'll be told it's extreme. You'll face doubt. That's how you know it's working. Change doesn't come through agreement. It comes through friction. Friends might vanish. Patterns will resist death. Your mind will fight to turn to easy. Expect it. That fight is part of the proof. It's how you know you're hitting nerve endings. That means you're finally touching the right spot, the one you've avoided. Keep going. Past fatigue, or past hesitation, into that strange new rhythm where everything becomes familiar, but sharper. clearer, where your mind wakes up earlier, your hunger signals clean up, your sweat feels earned, where everything shrinks except your expectations. Motherfucker. That's where visceral fat stops being stubborn. Because now you're more stubborn than it is, and that's when the shift gets permanent. Your threshold for discomfort shapes everything. Strength isn't forged through talk or theory. It's birthed under pressure. But most flee when challenged. They confuse fatigue with failure. They confuse struggle with weakness. They fold the second progress demands more than comfort. But elevation only starts where ease ends. There is no growth in the warm, padded zones where most spend their days pretending they're grinding. That's not pressure. Sissification, a fake struggle that feels busy but changes nothing. Motherfucker. The truth is raw pain is necessary, and not just soreness or sweat. Pain that breaks your rhythm. That interrupts your rhythm. That asks if you'll keep going when nothing about it is fair. That's the threshold most never cross. They tap out mentally far before the body quits. They convince themselves it's time to rest, time to back off, time to take it easier. But those are lies wrapped in self-preservation, and you'll never dominate anything while still defending your limits. Those who build something real, something monstrous, do so by operating inside pain, not around it, not occasionally dipping into it. They live there. They normalize it. They shift from fearing the burn to requiring it because they know what the other side looks like. Softness, excuses, decline. They've lived that. They've felt the fog of coasting. They've choked on the mediocrity of half effort, and they refuse to go back. They'd rather bleed with purpose and coast in peace. You've got to decide what discomfort you want, the sting of discipline or the ache of regret. Both hurt, but only one builds. Only one turns into momentum. The other calcifies into stagnation. Every missed session, every skipped rep, every broken promise gets stored in your body like a debt, and eventually that debt becomes weight. Emotional, mental, physical. It slows you. It drains you. It convinces you that maybe your best is behind you. But that's fiction written by the part of you that fears effort. Destroy that voice. This battle isn't one with hacks. It's one in silence. In the moments where no one's watching, when no one claps for you, when the only witness is the part of you begging to quit. And every time you override that voice, you become more dangerous. Not because you shouted louder, but because you listen less. You trained yourself to ignore weakness, to let it scream and still not listen. That's the real win. Outlasting the self-imposed exit strategies you've practiced for years. Some days your hands will shake, your legs will give, your lungs will scream, and nothing will go right. But those aren't signs to stop. Those are invitations to see what's left when everything feels stolen, to discover the strength that shows up only when everything else runs. You don't find that in comfort. You don't find that with playlists or perfect conditions. You find that in the chaos, the heat, the repetition that others call madness, but you call preparation. And don't expect applause. Don't expect support. Most won't understand why you train when exhausted, why you fast when tempted, you push when everything hurts. That's fine. Their approval is not the goal. Their understanding is irrelevant. Their limits are not yours. What they call too fall, necessary. What they call overkill, you call baseline. Because while they're debating where the line is, you already crossed it yesterday. This level of execution doesn't come from a better schedule or a new supplement. It comes from identity, from deciding once and for all that you're no longer the version of yourself that negotiates with hardship, motherfucker. That part died the day you stopped skipping the hard days, the day you woke up tired and trained anyway, the day you stopped letting soreness dictate your output. That's when the shift began. That's when the real athlete, the real machine, emerged. You start to crave the hard, not because you're a masochist, because you see what it does. You feel what happens on the other side, the clarity, the stillness, the power. You start to believe in what you can become, not based on fantasy, but based on repetition. That belief is built through pain. Every missed comfort is a deposit into your future self. Every time you deny the short-term fix, you invest in the long-term destroyer you're building, and if you slip, good, use it. Stack the guilt. Let it burn, but for shame, not for fuel. Most avoid regret, but why sharpen it into a blade? You failed. Perfect. Now remember how it tasted. Remember how weak felt. Etch it in your memory. Let it carve new standards. Then return to the grind harder, without negotiation, without self-pity, with force, because this life you want, the body, the mind, motherfucker, the mindset, it isn't handed out. It's carved from discomfort, from deliberate self-inflicted adversity, from the refusal to be average, from long days, brutal nights, and routines so sharp they cut through noise like steel. That's what nobody posts. That's what separates real transformation from wishful thinking. Start treating your time like it matters. Stop numbing the ache. Embrace it. Feed off it. That pain, motherfucker, that's the sound of weakness leaving. That tightness in your chest, that's discipline replacing delay. That fire in your lungs, that's greatness demanding more. Don't resist it. Run into it. Let it consume the version of you that settles, that hesitates, that watches others pass by. You'll feel like perfect. That's the test. Quitting's easy. It comes wrapped in logic, convenience, and comfort, continuing when it hurts. That's rare. That's savage. That's how legends get built. Not by those who tried, but by those who refuse to stop. You think it's supposed to feel good all the time. No, it's supposed to challenge. It's supposed to hurt. It's supposed to expose your soft spots. Motherfucker. That's how you grow. If it doesn't stretch you, it doesn't shape you. Chase the stretch. Demand the sting. Want the work. Because if it's comfortable, you're not changing. You're coasting. And coasting feels safe until you realize you've stayed in the same place for 5 years. So today, push harder. When the urge to cut corners hits, double down. When your mind pleads for rest, remind it who's in charge. You'll show up, motherfucker. You're not your feelings. You are the actions you choose when things get hard. Raise the bar. Kill the softness. Go again.